In the shadow of one of history's darkest days, there's a story that few people know about. A story of a man who saw the unthinkable coming. I'm talking about Rick Rescorla, and his tale is one that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about fate and intuition. Picture this, it's the 1990s and Rescorla is working as head of security at Morgan Stanley in the World Trade Center. But he wasn't just any security chief. This was a man who'd served in Vietnam, who'd seen the worst of humanity, and whose instincts had been honed by years of combat and crisis management. Long before that fateful September morning, Rescorla was convinced the Twin Towers were vulnerable to a terrorist attack. But not just any attack. He specifically predicted that terrorists would use commercial aircraft to target the buildings. People thought he was paranoid, excessive, maybe even losing it. But Rescorla didn't care what others thought. He trusted his gut. He implemented regular evacuation drills at Morgan Stanley, much to the annoyance of many employees. Every few weeks, he'd have thousands of workers march down dozens of flights of stairs, practicing for a scenario most thought would never happen. Some called him crazy, others complained about the disruption to their workday, but Rescorla remained steadfast. When September 11, 2001 arrived, Rescorla's predictions tragically came true. But here's where his story takes an extraordinary turn. As chaos erupted and people froze in fear, his preparation paid off. He calmly directed the evacuation of 2,700 Morgan Stanley employees, singing songs over his bullhorn to keep people calm and organized. Thanks to his foresight and those unnecessary drills, nearly every Morgan Stanley employee survived that day. But Rescorla, he went back into the building to make sure no one was left behind. He was last seen on the 10th floor of the South Tower, heading upward, still helping others. He never made it out. Rick Rescorla's story isn't just about predicting a tragedy. It's about the power of trusting your instincts, about having the courage to stand by your convictions even when everyone thinks you're wrong. His legacy lives on not just in the lives he saved, but in the lesson he left us. Sometimes the most important voices are the ones willing to speak uncomfortable truths, even when no one wants to listen. And in today's world, where we face new and evolving threats, perhaps we should all learn to listen a little more carefully to those warning signs that others might dismiss. Rick Rescorla wasn't just the man who predicted 9/11. He was the man who proved that one person's conviction can make the difference between life and death for thousands. His story reminds us that sometimes, the most important thing we can do is trust our instincts and act on them, no matter what others might think.